on 4G, you gotta keep it 30, about it like 30. Sippin' lean, it got my vision blurry. Sippin' lean, got me moving like a zombie. Got me reminiscing when they try to hide me. Throw away the key so they can't find me. Yeah, I'm on my green mind, smells on me. Let the Glock pop and I pop Molly. Start selling rocks cause I love robbing. Whole life giving on no block bang. Either wanna pop free Molly. That's the only reason you around me. No, you cannot get on my IG. This is selfie, stop trying to get by me. Let me out the cage now and you're raw dog. Cool cat, I'm a mutt, I'm a raw dog.
It's your boy Triple BLACK. I'm back in the building. 3 black hearses. It's murder. Anyways, man, a No Cupcake Zone is back, man. Hey, I'm doing the Southwest Florida high school football preview again. This time, we going to Lee County, Fort Myers, Fort Misery, Cape Coral, Lehigh. I'm in your chest. I'll let you boy. I was in the gym, now I got court cases. Whoa, man, we got Adam Regan, man, from the News Press on the line, man. We're going to be talking about some football, man. Make sure you guys go to my page on Facebook and like it, and also go to my YouTube page and like No Cupcake Zone podcast, man. Holla at your boy, man. We're back. It's your boy Triple BLACK back in the building. We got Adam Regan from the, we can't say Naples Daily News. Is it just Daily News now?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so we took over. It's not the News Press anymore, man. But anyways, round of applause. What's going on, Adam?
Not much, man. Just hanging out, talking to you. Eager to discuss some Lee County football with you.
Okay, yeah. Hey, man. Hey, we had the Adam Fisher on last night. Man, we're going to see who's the best of the Adams. Hey.
There's no question. There's no question there.
There's no question?
You're talking to the best one right now.
Okay, we're talking about, okay, you know what, man, I've been known to take a lot of shots over at the other county, you know what I'm saying? And one of the things that I don't feel we get enough respect over in Collier County. And you know the reason I feel that, because it seems like every time Collier County teams go over to Lee County, we give you guys that work.
You are absolutely correct about that. I mean, and the only real scoreboard that matters between Collier and Lee County is that 3-0 score, with 3 state championships going to Collier and no state championships going to Lee County. So as far as I'm concerned, the rivalry ends there.
Oh, hey, I didn't say that, Lee County, so you guys can't get mad at me, man. You know what I'm saying? It's mad. Last year, man, I addressed this on with Adam. It was a small school thing. You guys had a small school that actually had a big roster, and they came down to Collier County and got that work.
You're talking about First Baptist and ECS, right? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
You know that it was funny about that. ECS, I'm sure you and Fisher talked about getting R.J. Rosales from Immokalee, and then you got Terry Lindsay from Bishop Barrow, Greg Thomas from Dunbar. They've just built this huge roster, kind of like a dream team of sorts, and they had these expectations. I think actually the expectations came from those outside the program. I think Ernest Graham, the coach there, had some realistic expectations. But everybody was saying they're going to go to state and everything like that. And we see First Baptist on the schedule, who had a really young team right out the gate. obviously Rich Millian, we hadn't yet heard of him yet. And they definitely gave ECS the business. And ECS, I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last year. You had R.J. Rosales transfer back to Immokalee to go graduate there. I mean, that was nice seeing you there, man. And ECS, I went to their practice yesterday, actually, and it's a brand new team for Ernest Graham. Obviously, I think they're embracing being the underdogs a little more than being the favorites to come out of Southwest Florida and with the best chance to win a state championship last year, and that kind of fell by the wayside.
Okay, man. Hey, but Lee County, man, there's some hope. Hey, you know what? Coach Kramer retired, and he ran off with 2 state championships.
Ran off on the floor twice.
Not once.
Ran off on the floor twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bill, Bill Kramer, I've dealt with him the last couple of years. Great guy, a legend. You brought up the 2 state championships. I mean, what has he won? Like 50 playoff games or something like that. He's in all these different Hall of Fames. And yeah, I know for a fact some of the coaches in Lee County were pretty excited that he retired. Maybe that'd give him a chance.
Hey, I didn't say it. Hey, listen. Anyways, enough about that. I know a lot of people probably tuned out, but what is the state of football in Lee County? We know what the state of football is nationally, man. Talk about it, man. What have you learned this offseason, this unprecedented offseason?
Well, what I learned about Lee County, the public schools, they are working with an abundance of caution. From when summer workouts started in June to right now, to postponing practice to August 31st, and then the first games happening the 17th and 18th, they are really, really following the science here when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic. David LaRosa, basically the Lee County AD, is very in tune with the risks that are at hand, and they're really, really working hard with the district to make sure that the athletes and the coaches are safe. And I think that they're doing a very good job of observing what's going on around the state. They're keeping in constant communication with Collier County, with Hendry County, with Charlotte County, Sarasota County. They are definitely doing their best to make sure that everybody stays safe.
Yeah, I'm so confused on what's going on. Can you just tell us what are the difference between the Lee County football season or sports season versus the Collier County, or is it a uniform thing that they're doing?
I would say that they're unofficially walking in lockstep with each other. Collier County Public Schools and the School District of Lee County are working very, very closely. In Lee County, it was announced that they would play only district-only competition with some exceptions. Like you have the Fort Myers-Charlotte High rivalry. I believe Lehigh is going to play Naples. So really only travel that's going to happen from Lee County is either north to Charlotte County or a little east Bell or down to Collier County.
Okay. All right. Hey, one thing, I'll address this early, in, you guys have an abundance of school, abundance of talent. And I've heard this complaint, from coaches, from parents, from different, different people. Is there a recruitment or a transfer problem in Lee County?
I believe that there was a transfer problem in Lee County. Obviously, we all know where the transfer epidemic started. It started over in South Florida, and it's really made its way throughout the state. I think Lee County, you had a situation where it was the Wild West in terms of transfers to public schools. Kids would just transfer all over the place. But I think that has kind of stopped since David LaRosa has become the Lee County AD. He signs off on all transfer requests, and I think that transfer requests for athletic purposes are frowned upon. So I don't think kids are moving as freely from public school to public school. Now, when you have kids going to the private schools, you can't do anything to stop that. So there might still be a transfer epidemic to the private schools, but I think Mr. LaRosa has kind of cracked down on the transfer between public schools in Lee County.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things is you guys have a abundant of talent. I mean, there's so much talent in Lee County. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years, and with the high school like Dunbar, for instance, you'll have like 4 or 5 players on Dunbar that each one of them would be the best player on any team probably across country. It seems like it's so easy to build paper champions in that county. Do you believe that?
Yeah, since I moved to Lee County in 2015, really the knock I heard on Lee County was so much individual talent, but they can't put it all together as a team. Also, we have 15 public high schools now in Lee County too, so all of that talent is spread out across the county. It's not like it once was when, say, Fort Myers High School in the early 90s was a top 25 team nationally, and the only thing that they really had a problem was running into St. Thomas Aquinas in the playoffs. I mean, they should probably have 2 state titles, if not for St. Thomas Aquinas. But right now, the talent is just definitely spread very thin across the county. You have teams like Dunbar and Lehigh who get knocked on for having all this talent but not doing anything with it. But I think it's a matter of using that talent and having them play a role on their teams, and I think it really comes down to the coaching. And I think the coaches, even though they have all this talent, they're very challenged to put together a team rather than just a collection of individual D1 prospects.
Yeah, I always felt like I'll take a couple shots, but there's always a Lee County bias when it came to the Big 15, but it looks like Collier County is getting up there, man. But man, just talk about the Big 15 and some of the talent that's on the Big 15.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Big 15. The Big 15 is actually my creation. I mean, it started when I got here. We wanted to outline the top 15 recruits in Southwest Florida, Lee and Collier County. And you're right. I mean, I think because there's the population is more centered in Lee County, yeah, you're going to have more talented players in Lee County than Collier County. But you're right. I mean, there have been some years where Collier County has dominated the top of the Big 15. So I don't really agree with some people that say that there's a Lee County bias, but if there's more Lee County players in the Big 15 than Collier County players in a certain year, it's because they earned it. And this year they definitely earned it. I mean, Lehigh basically earned it on their own this year.
Yeah. I mean, this was your creation. Like, tell the truth. I'm sure you've got some emails, you got some Twitter of some people that are not so happy with the Big 15 in particular. Like, for instance, the number one player on the Big 15, and actually he's the number one running back recruit, I guess at his age, in the nation. Do you get some type of, pushback and flack for people that are not necessarily highly recruited but highly talented? That's just because they don't have all the offers, they're not on there.
Absolutely. I mean, I've dealt with it since it started. What we wanted to do was create a list of the top 15 recruits based on scholarship offers from Power 5 programs and everything like that. And as you know very well, the best players always aren't the D1 blue chip prospects. I mean, we do all area teams at the end of every season, and we've been doing that for years. Those are the players that perform the best on the field. Some of them are in the Big 15, and some of the first team all area players weren't even considered for the Big 15. The Big 15, it's not about who the best players are. It's about who the best recruits are according to scholarship offers.
Yeah. You do a lot of research out there, man. Can you name like 2 or 3 players that you feel that recruiters have completely missed the mark on?
Oof. Well, yeah, definitely I can do that. There's a running back at Fort Myers High's Amari Harvin, who is one of the better running backs I've seen in a while. And I'm not sure what kind of scholarship offers he has, but I don't think it's anything big. We didn't even talk about him for the Big 15, and he is one of the best players, in this area. And Fort Myers has a lot of those guys. They have a lot of guys that are very talented, but they don't have those scholarship offers. The Big 15 is made up of Dunbar and Lehigh guys. And a perfect example from Fort Myers High last year. He graduated. He's at Toledo now playing. We had wide receiver, defensive back John Calais. I thought he was the best player in Lee County last year, and he was a first-team All-Area selection, but he didn't even sniff the Big 15 last year.
Wow. Do you think a lot of recruiting, does coaching matter when it comes recruiting? Does it really matter?
For the blue chip guys, I don't think so. I think those guys are going to get their scholarship offers, and it's very, very easy for high school coaches to interact with those guys. But I think for the getting guys to 1AA programs, very good Division II programs, I think that requires an incredible amount of work from the high school coaches. And in Lee County, I'm not knocking Lee County by any stretch because those coaches are great as well, but we have some of the best coaches in terms of getting kids who are talented, want to play ball at the next level, want to get an education, getting them to 1AA programs, getting them to very good Division II schools. We had a whole bunch of guys from Lee County end up at Division III powerhouse Mount Union. These coaches are doing an incredible job to get their kids film out there. They spend hours upon hours talking to these coaches, and it's just amazing. They're very underpaid, as everybody will tell you.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, man. Shout out to James Cheney. He's on my Facebook page, but it's tremendous the exposure that the Lehigh guys get. It's amazing to me how much recruitment just looks that they get on the national stage. You got Richard Young. Talk about him, man. Have we seen anything like him before?
I think you may have. I think from what I'm told, the last guy to get this kind of hype was Noel Devine at North Fort Myers. Noel Devine, he played at North Fort Myers when YouTube was first starting, and his videos were all over YouTube, and the highlight videos were crazy. And he went on to have a great career at West Virginia. But Richard Young is a guy that I heard about before he even got to high school. I had been talking to Andrew Layton, head coach of Canterbury, and also, he knows all the talent around this area. He told me about Richard Young. I went to a combine, which was Deion Sanders' combine.
I was there.
At Bishop Burrow. Were you? Okay.
Yeah, he ran a 4.6 or 4.6.
4.640 as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the kid's built like a Mack truck already. He didn't start lifting weights seriously until he got to high school. And the sky is the limit with this kid. He rushed for close to 1,000 yards last year as a freshman. Hit one of his first touches against Booker T. Washington last year was a house call on a kickoff return. This kid is legit. He's going to have all the offers from every single Power 5 school by the time it's said and done. He's got a good head on his shoulder. He's very humble. He told me the other day that, what he's looking for in a college is he's going to look very, very closely at a team's offensive line and their blocking schemes. He wants his offensive line to be top-notch. He wants to work with them. He's doing the same thing at Lehigh. I think that for the next couple of years, I mean, he's going to end up on the national stage big time. I think we're going to be talking about him the same way that we talked about Noel Devine, 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, the key difference between him, I think, and Devine, he has, like, his measurables are off the charts. He's 6 foot, 180. By the time he graduates, he might be in the 210. I mean, that's the reason I asked, have we ever seen someone that size and speed? I think they say it in 100. In his age group, he might be the fastest in the nation. Who does he remind you of? I can tell you he reminds me of Adrian Peterson when he was in high school or, at Oklahoma. Who do he reminds you of?
Adrian Peterson is a very, very good comp, I think. Hopefully he has, better luck early in his career with injuries. Adrian Peterson, when he was at Oklahoma, had a couple injuries and stuff like that, but came back to have a great pro career. From what I've heard, though, and Richard probably might not want to hear this, his family might not want to hear it, I've heard he has a better future as a defender at the next level. As a safety linebacker comp, I don't know if there's going to be a school that's going to tell Richard Young, the number one running back in his class, that they want him to play linebacker or safety in college. But from everything I've heard about Richard Young, is his future might be on defense. I could be wrong, but anything is possible with this kid.
Yeah, there's two players that were really off my radar, but I've never seen them play in person. One of them is the guy named McKnight. I think he's like the 4th ranked safety in the country. In Sean Russ, I guess what makes them special?
Well, Jadarius McKnight, he's up at FSU now, so he had graduated. But Sean Russ is the number 1 cornerback ranked in the sophomore class this year, and this kid is dynamic. I had heard of Richard Young, and I was looking forward to see Richard Young play Dunbar last year. And everybody loves the Soul Bowl. That's one of my favorite rivalry games every single year. And Richard Young, he was getting stopped all over the place in one of his first games, and the game ends up 8-0 Dunbar. The kid that scored the game winner was on a pick six to win that game, and it was Sean Russ. And this kid, once he made that play, I mean, he was off to the races. He made a couple good moves on guys and was gone. And I was like, who is this kid?
Yeah, and what's crazy? No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about him ever since. I mean, he's a Gator commit now. He's actually an incredible basketball player, too. I mean, this kid, when I talk about the sky's the limit for Richard Young, Sean Russ is in that category, too. I mean, I'm not sure that Lee County has had 2 talents in the same class like this. We've had a couple great players, but, I mean, these guys are the number 1 ranked at their position in the class of 2023.
That's crazy, man. What's crazy? During youth football, I went out and watched some youth football, but this is before they got into high school. I've heard, like, very heated debates between those two. Who was better? So I guess, I guess they do have the juice.
They definitely do. And I would definitely say Sean Russ won round 1 between him and Richard. So I'll be interested to see how round 2 goes.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about too, man, I talked about Coach Kramer, maybe ad nauseum, on my podcast with Adam. Talk about the coaching legends, the Siriannis, because I don't really think people can quantify how great they've been at their positions. Talk about them. Well,
it's something you probably won't ever see again. There's been 100 years of Fort Myers High School football, and the Siriannis have been around for 60 of them. And they're the last 2 head coaches. The last time that Fort Myers High School saw anyone other than a Sirianni as head coach was, in the late 50s. So, I mean, it is definitely a dynasty. Sam Sirianni Sr., I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Sam Sirianni Sr. He was all about the kids, and once he and his wife moved to Fort Myers and set foot on campus at Fort Myers High School, they were never leaving, and he never did. He was, he died of cancer a while ago, but I mean, he was at Lee Memorial Hospital. He had a room on a floor at Lee Memorial High School where he could look down on the practice field at Fort Myers High. I mean, he was there into the very end of his life, and his son, Sam Sirianni Jr., has done a tremendous job since he took over. They're trying to get over the hump, trying to get back to a state semifinal as his father did back in the early 90s, but it's tough when you have to go through Naples High and then have to go through those Miami schools. So they continue to work over there. They're the only coaches in Lee County other than Ron Hoover at North Fort Myers who have won 100 games in their career. Now, there's only 3 coaches that have won 100 games in their career in Lee County, and the Siriannis are 2 of them.
Yeah, man. I had the experience of playing against Fort Myers my senior year. I've never met Sam Sirianni, but all I can remember, the way that their team was ran was precision. Like, I know with Coach Kramer, he's very meticulous, very detailed. He's all the way down to the pregame meal. With your experience with Sam Sirianni Jr., what makes him a cut above the rest of the coaches?
It's like Bill Kramer, attention to detail. Every one of Sam Sirianni's coaches on his staff has a role to play, and most of them have been there for a very long time, and they know their roles just like Bill Kramer's assistants did, and they pay great attention to detail, down to the pregame meal, down to the way they walk out on the field. Everything is so precise, and they run on offense. They run this wing tee, and it has to be run by the quarterback, by the offensive lineman. Everything has to be done very, very precisely, and they do it very, very well. And a lot of kids on that team, I mean, they might not be the most talented players, but when those 11 guys on the field work together in sync, some of these kids, they look like, all county players, and, they're not the most talented on the field, but they definitely accomplish big things on the field.
Yeah, man. There's a couple schools that have an abundance of riches when it comes to physical talent, like Dunbar. I've watched them, quite a bit. I mean, it looks like they're well coached. It looks like they have all the athletes. What could you say have been missing, I guess, in their program for them to make that state run? Because it looks like they have all the boxes, but they've not been able to put it together. What are your assessment on that program?
On Dunbar, I will say that Coach Sammy Brown is the man for the job. He's doing a great job there. They win a good amount of games every single year. It just seems like in the big games, they make a crucial mistake. And you say what you want about coaching or whatever, maybe that does come down to coaching in the big moments, but they're not far away from being a program to be reckoned with. It's just a matter of, in crucial situations, making mistakes. And I also think, at the skill positions, yeah, they have had a lot of talent. I mean, they've had some great D1 players come through there, but they've never had the quarterback to really put it all together. Usually you'll see they'll put one of their best athletes at quarterback because that's really their only option. Like, I'll throw out Seneca Millage, one of the fastest kids Lee County has ever seen, a great cornerback, a great running back. Out of necessity, they had to put him at quarterback, and that took a toll on his body. And he made great plays, but he wore down towards the end of the season. If they could get a quarterback in there who can manage that team, I think that would really give them inside track to being one of the top teams in Lee County.
Yeah, I think, Lehigh, they've had an abundance of riches. They have good coaching, they have all the boxes too. What's your assessment on them?
Well, Lehigh was a team going into last year that hadn't won a district title in 24 years. And it wasn't because they didn't have any talent. I mean, they had one of the best running backs in Lee County for 4 years, and Chris Curry. He's at LSU now. He's going to be high up on that depth chart, and they were not able to sniff a district championship. But last year, I feel like they gelled together as a team. They played some tough competition, and James Chaney always schedules tough competition. And he gets a lot of criticism for that, for scheduling Miami Booker T. Washington, for scheduling Charlotte. And
Naples.
Scheduling Naples. James Chaney, he's not afraid. But all of that ends up paying off in the end, and it paid off last year. They won a district title. They experienced that. Now they have a good nucleus of guys back, and that includes Amarion Cooper, 4-star cornerback who's headed to FSU. You've got who I think is the best player in the county right now. No disrespect to Richard Young, but I think the best player in the county right now is middle linebacker Jake Chaney, James Chaney's son. He's headed to Wisconsin. He was one of our Defensive Player of the Year finalists last year. The kid is an animal. You won't see any better film out there. He's a great player. And then you've got Tavares Dawson, who's one of the most dynamic playmakers in Lee County. He's the other cornerback, and he's a wide receiver. He's headed to Auburn. I think that they can put it all together this year. I know they play a tough schedule, but I think, with every team making the playoffs this year and them reclassifying, I think Lehigh has an opportunity to win a playoff game this year.
Yeah, man. Hey, good luck to them, man. Hey, the other team that I thought, surprised a lot of people, and shout out to Andrew Layton, because he had a podcast with his coach, Rich Rod from Cypress Lake, man. They were, I guess, annual cellar dwellers. Just tell me, what did you see? What switch happened where they started just winning games?
Well, Richie Rode is a former assistant under Sam Sirianni, longtime assistant. He's a Cypress Lake graduate, and he was the right man for the job. He was all about the process and kids staying the course. He didn't have any kids transfer out of his program through his first 4 years. They were building something, and they were also blessed to have a 3-year starting quarterback back last year in CJ Shedd, who was our Offensive Player of the Year finalist. They beat Fort Myers for the first time in 14 years, stopped them cold on the goal line to celebrate that rivalry win there, and they really just kept it rolling throughout the season. They played in a district that really wasn't that good. They had some challengers, but they were clearly the best team in their district. They won a district championship for the first time in a quarter of a decade. Richie Rode, he knows what he's doing, and I know CJ Shedd graduated. He's at Mount Union now. But they've got some players. Michael Lennett Jr. is one of the most underrated players in Lee County. He rushed for 1,000 yards last year. He's back for his senior year. You have a talented playmaker in Kyrie Savoy. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with again this year. I think a lot of people might think that they have peaked last year. I disagree.
Yeah. So what have you heard from North Fort Myers, Mariner, and Cape Coral? We don't have enough time to go through a detailed analysis for all of them, but talk about what you've heard about the other schools emerging in public schools.
Well, in the West Zone, it's all about North Fort Myers right now. Dwayne Mack has got that program cooking with gas. Last year, they were a primarily running team. They beat the teams they needed to. They got into the playoffs. They dropped the rivalry game with Fort Myers during the regular season, then got booted out of the playoffs by Fort Myers Fort Myers is a little bit of their kryptonite, but in the West Zone, there's no team better than North Fort Myers. They'll again be another great team, but I mean they're going to have to deal with the loss of their quarterback and Parker Odell to graduation. We'll see what they come up with at quarterback, but that offense is always ready to go. They've got these big offensive linemen that just maul you up front. So I definitely think that they're the class of the West Zone. I think in the rest of the Cape, you've got a couple new coaches at Island Coast and Mariner. Mariner's one of those teams, though. They're going to make you earn a victory over them, and if you're caught sleeping, they're going to punch you in the mouth, no matter who they have on their team. Cape Coral, they're looking to rebound from a rough season. So a team, though, to be on the lookout for in that West Zone is Ida Baker. Chuck Lossett came over. He from Texas. He won a private school state championship over there. He came over last year and just turned this team around. They went 5-5 last year, and they're on the rise. So I would definitely look out for Ida Baker. And over the last decade or so, you really don't hear that much.
So you mean to tell me Ida Baker is a win? I mean, it's not an automatic win when you know, because when I used to take shots at Ida Baker, and I call them what's the other team, Island Toast. You know, I was just like, have they ever won a game? What's the other one? It's East Lee County, and I'm sorry, man, I'm just taking little shots. I'm sure they got good players and they got good coaches and stuff like that. But
Island Coast back in the early part of last decade, they were no joke. They were under Joe Bowen. They were one of the best teams in Lee County, but they've fallen on hard times since then. I think they're on their fourth coach in 5 years. So we'll see what they can do this year. But Ida Baker, yeah, you can't put a W next to Ida Baker in permanent marker. That would be a mistake for any team this year.
Wow. Hey, I'm surprised, but you're the Lee County experts. Let's talk about the small schools. Well, let's just talk about the one small school. It seems like, well, actually, we have some other small schools, but it seems like it's Bishop Verot and everybody else. And they made it very far in the playoffs, and they were missing. You know who they were missing? They were missing Terry Lindsay Jr. I think they were also missing Jalen Brown or something like that. A couple other receivers.
Brown,
yeah. So they, on paper, they were missing a lot of talent, but they gave everybody that work last year. Man, is it coaching what happened, or was Jacob Azizi that dynamic?
Oh, well, it all starts with the no-name defense. I mean, that's the best defense I've seen in Lee County since I've gotten here. John Waring, who is now the head coach, but he was the defensive coordinator last year. He put together a group of kids that just they didn't care. They didn't care about scholarship offers. They didn't care about personal stats. They just cared about hitting you in the mouth, stopping you behind the line of scrimmage, and it happened over and over and over again. And the offense had a little help from probably the most dangerous player in Lee County, and that's Malik Curtis, wide receiver.
Yeah.
There, he changed that team. He transferred from South Fort Myers and changed that offense. You brought up Jacob Azizi. He's an emerging quarterback, but I mean, he had a great season, but towards the end, Nick Perez came in at quarterback and gave them that extra added dimension of the run and really turned that offense into a finely tuned machine. They got to a regional final for the second straight year and ran into Clearwater Central Catholic in an overtime game. Yeah, I mean, it's Bishop Verot. I mean, in terms of the private schools, it's Bishop Verot and everybody else. And right now, and a lot of people disagree with me, I mean, Bishop Verot is one of the top one or two teams in the county.
Man, they were missing 3 like D1 players, and they still made it. Imagine if they would have had those guys. You know, they say that if was a fifth, we all be drunk, but dang, man. but they reloaded this year. Yeah, with Malik Curtis. I heard he's committed to Miami, right?
Yep, he's going to be a Cane.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Speaking of small schools, what have you heard out of ECS this year? You gave us a brief thing, but athlete-wise, is there any notable people that we should look out for?
A name you might recognize. Young man, freshman by the name of Miles Graham. And he's Ernest Graham's son. He'll be the starting quarterback at least for the beginning of the season until their junior quarterback recovers from injury. But he was their leading tackler last year. He's going to play a linebacker, safety kind of role. The kid's a beast. I got a chance to talk to him yesterday, and he's pretty focused on changing an evangelical Christian defense that was not that good last year. They gave up a ton of points, and it left a bad taste in their mouth. Yeah.
Well, that guy has great genes, between Ernest and Brandon Graham and other family members, but I'm sure he's probably got all the measurables, all the speed, and all that type of stuff. So I'm excited about watching him. One of the biggest stories last year, and with this Corona epidemic, I guess didn't get a lot of light. And this guy is one of my good friends. I think he's a tremendous guy. Was Drew Layton. And, it was a big surprise to me when he got the job. Somebody believed in him, and they won, I guess their version of the state championship, man. Talk about how surprising or how remarkable that was.
Well, I wasn't surprised that they won an SSAC championship. They had been to the game 2 times prior and, couldn't get over the hump. But, Andrew Layton, they hired him, and he's truly a success story. Having played at Estero and going through everything that he went through after graduating from Estero and coming back, and he's a guy, like a lot of Lee County coaches, who he's all about the kids. He wants to give these kids the best possible opportunity to succeed, and he's doing that at Canterbury. And he has a great coaching staff there too. Canterbury's, their team definitely to look out for in the Sunshine State Athletic Conference, and I'm interested to see at some point if they switch back to FHSAA and jump into the district with all those private schools at some point.
Okay. We had a rundown, and again, there's like 15 schools. Who is off the radar that we need to be talking about?
Well, you brought up Sam Sirianni. Are we not going to talk about Fort Myers High School? Are we?
No, we're going to talk about him. We can talk about him right now. Let's go ahead. Let's go.
Of course, Fort Myers High School not off the radar. I was just giving you the business because all we talked about with the Siriannis, we didn't talk about the talent that Fort Myers High School has this year. And when I said Bishop Moreau is either the best or the second best team in Lee County, I would put Fort Myers in my preseason rankings. I would put Fort Myers at number 1, Bishop Moreau at number 2, and that's because of Coach Sirianni and what he's done. But they've got some talented players. I already brought up Zamari Harvin, running back, but you've got a cornerback in Greg Delane, who is probably, I would say probably the third best corner in Lee County behind Sean Russ and Amarian Cooper at Lehigh. I mean, he's a dynamic shutdown corner. And then you have Greg Denard, one of the better middle linebackers in the county. They're going to be the best team in the county or the second best team in the county when it's all said and done. So that's my spiel on Fort Myers High.
That's what I mean. Me and Adam, we addressed this a little bit. Coronavirus. Dang you, Corona! You need to get out of here, man.
Belongs to the streets.
Corona, you belong to the streets.
She belongs to the streets.
We need to get rid of you. You know what? Get out of here, man. Hey, you know what? Get in the firing squad. Oh, go somewhere, Corona. Please. You have messed up a lot of people's lives, man. Let me Corona. One of the sad things is there's, how like some seniors just emerge, and they start in spring. They could have a month, family issues, why they didn't play football, grade issues, and they finally get their opportunity for this, the last year. Do you think there's going to be a lot of players that get overlooked because of this unprecedented times?
Absolutely. Hopefully we're able to have a full season and some of these kids are going to be able to showcase their talent. It's funny, as you were asking me that question, the first guy that popped into my mind was a guy like Nathan Castor at South Fort Myers, running back. Under the radar. Last year he set South Fort Myers single game rushing yard record, and he was the guy that I thought was going to come in this year and he was going to make a name for himself. Colleges were going to know who he was, and I really hope that happens. He didn't have the spring football opportunity. Spring is when the college coaches, they come down 75, they go to all the schools. I thought Nathan Castor was going to be a guy that got noticed, and he was robbed of that in the spring, and now he has this opportunity in front of him now, and we'll see what comes for guys like him, but I really, really hope that we can have a season so guys like him can show what they're worth.
Hey, I'm sure, you probably keep in contact with coaches, recruiters, and things like that. Give a little piece of advice to, maybe a high school player right now that has aspirations but haven't really made their splash yet. What do they need to be doing to get noticed?
I don't know if they want my advice, but I asked a lot of players when we were doing our Big 15 interviews. I asked a lot of the players, I said, hey, what advice would you give to the youth of Lee County and Collier County for that matter, who want to be in the position you are right now with all these D1 scholarship offers? And the guy that gave me the best answer, hands down, was Jake Chaney. With no surprise with his father, with James Chaney being, a recruiting guru himself, but Jake Chaney told me that he never strove for scholarship offers or anything like that. The only thing he wanted to do was to help his team, number one, play his role, and be the best linebacker in the country. He didn't care if, Nebraska was going to offer him or UCLA was going to offer him. He wanted to be known as the best linebacker in the country, and he was going to put in the work in the weight room and watching film to make sure he was the best linebacker in the country and he was helping his team. He didn't care about anything else. He could graduate from Lehigh and, not have a single scholarship offer, but he wanted to know that he was the best, and all the scholarship offers would probably come as a result of the work he put in. So I think that's the best advice that the youth of Lee County and Collier County can take in if they want to be in the position that Jake Chaney is, where he's the best linebacker in the county. He's ranked among the top 100 linebackers in the country, and he's committed to Wisconsin. So take it from him.
Yeah, that's great. You did the Big 15 interviews and stuff like that. And, I feel bad for a lot of the kids and stuff like that. If, there's some kids that didn't make the Big 15, and I'm sure there's going to be some recruiters listening to this show, because you guys have the reach, you're a pretty popular guy, you and Adam. Can you name like 5 guys, just name drop that, or that didn't make the Big 15, but probably should have got an honorable mention that they need to go to their huddle, to their Twitter to watch?
It is really, really funny that you mentioned that, actually, because on Sunday, the Naples Daily News and the News Press are putting out the 25 most underrated players in Lee and Collier County.
Oh,
and those are the guys that didn't make the Big 15, but are the best players in the county. And I'll give you a little bit of preview if you want.
Yeah. So hold on. I'm gonna bust a shot at you. So you're admitting that the Big 15 was exclusively Lee County, because you didn't say Collier County.
Oh no! It was definitely Collier County, and the list of underrated players includes quite a number of Collier County guys. And I think the folks at Palmetto Ridge will be very, very happy, because you're gonna see guys like senior defensive back Jordan Innes, who was a first-team All-Area Naples Daily News selection. He'll be on the list. You got a guy like Malik Diadon, a dynamic wide receiver from Palmetto Ridge. Those guys, and then, of course, Naples is going to have a bunch of guys. But in Lee County, because we're doing the Lee County preview, I'll give you a couple of those guys. I already mentioned Zamari Harvin, Fort Myers High School, but then you got guys like Michael Lennett Jr., receiver, running back at Cypress Lake. You got one of the most underrated guys, I think, is Bishop Barreau running back Keon Anderson. He was at Island Coast the last 2 years, tore it up there. Now he's at Bishop Barreau, one of the best teams in the county, and I think he's due for a huge, huge season. And I think really another guy you got to look out for, and this is a guy that a lot of coaches say is the best player in the county, and that's Taven Ward. He plays at North Fort Myers. He played at he was one of the ECS transfers last year, and this guy has all the measurables and all the talent in the world. He's just got to put it together, and he's a guy that's going to keep North Fort Myers towards the top of the Southwest Florida rankings.
Okay, all right. Last question, man. You guys do the Broxton Award. Who are your early, not who, but who is your early favorite? If you had, some money to put on the table, we're not betting. I'm sorry. No bets. To win the offensive player and defensive player of the year.
Well, the Broxton Award is a Naples Daily News only award, actually. It's for Collier County. But that doesn't mean I can't give my early pick for it.
Okay. The Lee County Award. We'll do that.
I'd like to be on record as giving my early Broxton Award pick. Okay. And that's Mike Joyce, quarterback from St. John Newman. He was a Class 2A Player of the Year last year. Everybody thought that St. John Newman was going to take a step back last year when they lost their quarterback, who was the Broxton Award winner, in Jensen Jones. But Mike Joyce stepped in. He was great last year for St. John Newman. I think he'll win it again.
So back-to-back. How about defensive player?
Defensive player from Collier County?
County? Any county. I'm just...
It stops and ends with Jake Cheney. He's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year award. I have no doubt.
Great. Well, anyways, your favorite to make it deepest in the playoffs this year?
I would say Bishop Barreau in Lee County. They've done it the last 2 years. They've gone to regional finals. They're trying to get over that hump. So I would say Bishop Barreau. They were the last team standing last year.
Yeah. because everybody makes it to the playoffs. You know, this is participation award. Year award, or however you say it. Because Adam says that if you want to be in the playoffs, you make the playoffs.
Yeah, everybody gets in the playoffs this year. They can opt in to the state series and go to the playoffs and see what happens. So we'll see if the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And if the Miami schools opt out of the state series, anything can happen. I'm not sure that I don't think you're going to see a Miami state champion this year, because I don't think any of them are going to opt into the state series. And Broward, Palm Beach County, and Miami-Dade County won 7 of the 8 state titles last year.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I definitely heard that they're not because they're a hot spot. They can't even do OnlyFans. We're doing OnlyFans over here, so you have to have a subscription to watch the game. No fans.
It's very possible.
Hey, man, we're going to sign off, man. Go ahead and plug your podcast, plug your Twitter page. Where can they find you, man? Go ahead and promote yourself, man.
Well, I'm sure Adam Fisher already plugged it, but I'm going to plug it even better. You have the Inside Southwest Florida Football Podcast with Adam Fisher of the Naples Daily News and Adam Regan of the News Press. We go through the matchups every single week. We look back on the previous week. We have coaches interviews. It's a good time, man. We definitely were pulling from the No Cupcake Zone. We were definitely following you, and when we were setting up doing our podcast. So props to you for being the first high school football podcast in Southwest Florida. So we appreciate everything you've done there.
Thank you so much, man. Hey, man. Hey, thank you so much, man. I feel really good now, man, that I got that recognition, man.
You got to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, absolutely, man. No, I really appreciate that, man. I think Southwest Florida, you know, from a national standpoint, we can actually match up with any area in the country, you know, even from the youth football. I think we had a youth team with the Fort Myers Rattlers, and they went to some type of championship, and they kind of ran the table. You know, they were blowing out teams and stuff. So we have a hotbed of talent, and I'm glad that we have some platforms that are really promoting it.
No doubt.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks again, man, for coming on the podcast, man. Hopefully, you know, maybe at the end of the year, we can get you guys back on again.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, man. You have a wonderful day.
You take care.
All right, man. Hey, that was Adam Regan. Man, great podcast. Definitely, you know, we got a lot of information out there, man. It was fun. Make sure you guys go to my YouTube page, No Cupcake Zone. Also follow me on Twitter, No Cupcake Zone, Triple Black 239 on Instagram. You know, you can find me on Facebook, No Cupcake Zone Podcast. Make sure you guys go to that. Anyways, man, holla at your boy. Anyways, man, I'm out here, man.